Alright guys, so Xbox just had their games showcase, and I talked about Xbox recently. A couple of weeks ago, I want to say I made a video talking about how, oh, they need games, they can't compete with anything. They really need something to keep people interested, and then PlayStation had their whole thing, and Spider-Man looked fantastic, and all of that stuff, so they really needed something in this showcase today. But I'm going to go through and talk about the most interesting games that they showed, the few that I care about, and then talk about if they actually showed something that's going to keep people interested. But let's start out with the Star Wars trailer that we have playing in the background, and we'll work our way around from there. So, Star Wars Outlaws, I believe, is what they decided to title it, and this is Ubisoft's open world Star Wars game. And so, well, this, again, isn't going to come out for probably another year, and it'll probably get delayed into 2025. There's going to be more shown of this tomorrow, because this, along with a lot of other things here, are just cinematic trailers, so they really mean nothing, but it's just the idea, right? And personally, I don't know how I feel about this game, because yes, it's an open world Star Wars game, which we haven't really gotten before, and it'll be fun and something different to kind of go around and see things, but you're not a Jedi, right? And with Star Wars, it's very hard, in my opinion, at least in game form, to make any sort of content where you're not a Jedi interesting to me, without including Jedi or Sith, right? And so what I mean by that is, take Jedi Survivor, right? You're playing as a Jedi, so that works. You don't need any other Jedi in it. You're at least playing as the, I don't want to say source material, but as the most interesting thing in the lore, right? And then in this game, you have the same problem. If this game you go through the whole thing and you're an outlaw and you're going around, doing Han Solo type things, making money, doing bounties, stuff like that, just trying to survive, and they don't include any Jedi at all throughout the entire game, that's going to be disappointing. But then if they do include Jedi, you're going to be like, what would this game have been like if you were just a Jedi? Right, trying to hide or something away from the Empire, right? So there's this whole thing of, yes, well, it's an open world Star Wars game. I think it's going to be challenging to keep it somewhat interesting while not just doing the same ideas and tropes over and over and over again, right? You can only keep sci-fi blasterness interesting for so long without being like, hey, look, it's Darth Vader. Hey, look, it's this guy with the lightsaber. Hey, look, it's this guy with the lightsaber. I'm not saying that you can't have that in this game. Then you just, like I just said, run into the problem of, oh, well, I want one of those, right? And so we'll see what they decide to go with here. If it's going to be more RPG based with gear and stuff like that, or if it's going to be a more linear story thing, we'll see. Again, it's just a gameplay trailer. I'll probably make another video on this tomorrow. But from here, let's go ahead and transition into another game. And there's a lot of games that I could talk about, but I'm not going to, just because they showed so many that I don't really feel like sitting here for 40 minutes. But let me talk about Avowed really quickly. So when they showed the cinematic trailer for this, I want to say a couple of years ago, it looked like, okay, this is kind of the next Skyrim while we wait for the next Skyrim to be made, right? This looks somewhat interesting. This looks like something I would be into, right? So that cinematic trailer came out, like I said, a year or two ago, and it came out, and it was fine. That was it. Never really heard anything else about the game. And now we get this, which has gameplay and also cinematics in it, but I don't know what happened. Like, why is it so bright? And I'm not complaining that I hate everything bright and every game has to be dark and gritty, but it's like they just drastically changed directions. Now maybe they just showed one super early, super bad example of a cinematic in a cave, but this game looks like, I've seen people comparing it to like Sea of Thieves and like, what's that Ubisoft game, Immortals Phoenix Rising that they changed the name to, that game. It looks like that. Why is it so bright and saturated? Like, again, the game could still be good, it just looks weird for the type of game that it is. But before I go on to the main two that I want to talk about, let me go ahead and ramble down my list of some of the games that look decent, but I didn't feel the need to talk about in depth. So there's Payday 3, which again, just like Skyrim, is a little bit before me, so I never really got the chance to play the second one. So hopefully the third one is good, and I don't like how arcadey the second one feels from the little bit that I've played of it, so I'm hoping maybe we'll get a little bit more tighter controls in the third one, but aside from that, I haven't played it enough to really give any meaningful input here or there. You have Flight Simulator, which looks like they're actually putting some kind of missions into it, which is something nice other than, hey, look, our game looks good, so that'll be cool. There's Forza. Forza's doing Forza, so that'll be good. You have Overwatch, which I do actually want to talk about a tiny bit. What are they doing? Why would Overwatch, and I'm not going to pull up the trailer because it's not worth talking about and spending 30 minutes on, but why would they come out and say, we're not making this co-op mode, we're not making these story missions, all these modes, right? We're not going to do that. And then like 2 months later, be like, hey, we lied, we're making all that. Like clearly they were working on it, that or it's just going to be so lackluster that it comes out after, you know, everyone complained about it and they just started working on it and it's going to be absolute garbage. But either way, it's just weird that they said they were going to do it and then said they weren't going to do it and then people complained and now they're going to do it again. I mean, hopefully it's good. It'll add something to the game. Hopefully some progression actually make you want to play other than ranked, but that's just me. I'm obsessed and need some sort of progression to play a game. From there, they showed City Skylines 2, which I've played the first one. I'm not good at it. I'm not great at it. But, I mean, it looks fun. Like, again, all of these games are on Game Pass. Well, aside from Star Wars. But, you know, they're practically free the way I look at it. So, I'll try them out. Now, let me go ahead and transition. Talk about the big two. Let me talk about Cyberpunk. So, I've talked about Cyberpunk. It has to be at least 10 times on this channel now at this point. I've hated on this game for all the hate that there is to have. Right? But, that being said, this trailer, the atmosphere and like the setting and the story components of it, the way it's set up looks really good. The first trailer and like the teaser for this expansion, I didn't really care for, right? Like whatever, it's more Cyberpunk. Like I'll play it because I feel obligated to and talk about it because of just how big the game is, but I wasn't really excited for it. This made it look halfway decent though. So I'm somewhat excited for this. I don't really like that it's $30 still, but if there's a lot of content, fine, it is what it is. The story components of this look good. Now, my problems are still going to be my problems. Hopefully all of the performance issues have been fixed by now, but all of the gameplay issues that I have with the game, just as like core gameplay mechanics, they're not changing, that's just how the game is. So the same complaints that I had in the gameplay section of my review and all of the other videos that I made for this game, I'm still going to have in this expansion, but I'm hoping the story and adding Idris Elba and all these really cool people and just the atmosphere, like I said in this trailer, I really liked. So hopefully that'll change things up and I'll like this a bit more and not want to kill myself at the end of it like I did the full game. So now we talk about Starfield, and this is where I kind of wrap everything together, right? So my whole point, what everyone's been saying this whole time for weeks and weeks and weeks building up to this, especially with the Spider-Man trailer having released now, the gameplay trailer, Xbox needs something. Xbox needs a game or like a promise of games to compete with Nintendo and Sony. And Nintendo doesn't so much have a promise of games, but it delivers every time it releases a game. Look at Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, right? Any of the Mario games, really, pretty much everything Nintendo puts out, while it doesn't do millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of copies like Call of Duty or something does, it wins the Game of the Year and everybody loves it. It gets such high scores. Same thing with PlayStation, and they're more so on the promise side is PlayStation, I mean, fucking Christ, Uncharted, Last of Us, Ratchet & Clank, Spider-Man, Wolverine, right? All these games that have come out or are going to come out, they're consistently good, and they have promises of future games that, because of what they've released in the past, you know, are going to be good. And God of War, I didn't even mention that. That's one of the best ones, right? These games are so good. And then you have Xbox, right? Xbox hasn't released something really good in a long time, right? We have Halo, which as a single player experience was good. I gave it like a 9 or something. I want to say I gave it Game of the Year, or maybe I put Guardians higher that year. I don't remember. But regardless, you have Halo, and that's it, right? So far this year, what's come out? Redfall? That's it? Like, that sucked. every single thing that Xbox puts out, and I know it has Game Pass, right? You're getting all of these free games. Every single game I just listed on here, other than Star Wars, is going to be essentially free, and you can play it day one without paying money. And yes, that has value, but it doesn't matter, right? I've defended Game Pass, and I've defended Xbox a bunch of times. But I like playing, Shredder's Revenge, or Deep Rock Galactic, or, some of the other things that are on Game Pass that are, these $20 mini games from time to time that keep me interested for a week. It's not like Spider-Man. It's not like God of War. It's not a game that you're going to remember forever, right? It's not one of my favorite games ever. And so that's my problem with Xbox. And that's what Starfield needs to be. The problem with Xbox, and they've done this showcase after showcase after showcase, they didn't do it so much here, but it's the same concept, is they come out and they say, well, next year we're going to have a bunch of games. Next year we're going to have a bunch of games, right? I mean, Starfield got delayed, all types of things get delayed to next year, to next year, to next year. But the problem is that if you don't actually put a fucking game out, nobody cares, right? And that's where we're at now. It's been so long since Xbox put out a good game, and this is what Starfield needs to be. They didn't really come out and say, hey, in like 4 years, this is going to come out, it's going to be fantastic. Next year, this is going to come out, and this is going to be fantastic. Pretty much everything they showed comes out at the end of this year, or at the beginning of next year, and again, it's nothing crazy. It's like Flight Simulator. They didn't have like a console seller, right? And so, to at least get going on the right path, they need Starfield to be really good. And I mean really good. Skyrim level good. And as long as the game launches, and I know I'm going to jinx this saying with Bethesda, but launches in a stable state, in a halfway decent state. Now, obviously, I hope it launches in an absolute fantastic state, but knowing Bethesda and just how games get delayed and games launch now, if it launches in a stable state, and dear God, if a month before the game comes out, they put out a tweet that it's going to be in 30 FPS, I'll go insane. But this is it. I feel like we're at that point where games have got delayed because of the whole COVID thing, and they got pushed back and pushed back and pushed back, right? I mean, I'm going to count Suicide Squad that got delayed into next year as the last one, right? Jedi Survivor got delayed into this year. This got delayed to the end of this year. All of these games got delayed. This is it, right? This is the end of your COVID delay, in my opinion. It doesn't matter how many games you put on Game Pass, how many old games, how many masterclass games you put on Game Pass. If you don't generate anything new that's worth playing on Game Pass, right? And again, I've talked about this 1,000 times, but for someone who's new, who's never played games before, little Timmy just got his Xbox for Christmas, Game Pass is fantastic. There's so many games on there. But someone like me, and I'm not saying I've played every single game on Game Pass, because there's so many, and they rotate and add new ones all the time, but the high quality, the games that I enjoy, I've played a lot of them. Games that are going to be your favorite games ever, I've played them. Right? Xbox needs something new that they can work off of and take that momentum and keep going. Now, I'm not saying I want a whole Starfield universe. That's not what you need. Xbox, I don't think, needs something that's going to be kind of a franchise. They don't need a Spider-Man where they can continuously make Spider-Man games, or an Uncharted, or anything like that, right? They have all of these studios. They're buying all of these studios. And again, this is all based on what you like. But instead of putting out these like 15, 20 indie games a month on Game Pass, focus on making Xbox exclusives that are absolutely insane. They have the money, they have the console, and they have the people to do it at this point. That's my rant. I just wanted to go on and on about Xbox, but like I said, hopefully all these games smack. They're all fantastic. We'll talk about Star Wars Outlaws tomorrow whenever Ubisoft does their thing, and whatever else they decide to show off. Their stupid-ass Rabbids game, I'm sure they're going to come out with a new one that we'll all get to make fun of again, but it is what it is. Again, you guys let me know what you think of all of these games. If you have a favorite one I didn't talk about, what you're excited for, one that maybe you saw and now you're not excited for, a game you think they missed. Let me know down in the comments below, and I'll see you guys on the next one.